I have a confession. I can't paint trees. Well, not really. But by the end of this video, we will both be able to paint this picture. That's a lot of wood. I feel like there's some kind of crass joke I could make here, but I'm not going to, out of respect for you. Maybe I should blare this. It's like an old man's locker room. Not to toot my own horn, but this is a good photograph for our purposes. So, it has trees in the background, the midground, and then the foreground. And that's how we're going to approach our research. We're going to look at online resources, famous paintings, tips and tricks, WikiHow, WikiLeaks, the outdoor world where trees are. I'm going to look at everything. Right. Let's get going. I feel like I probably need a better catchphrase than that. Ready, steady, art. All right, let's create. Splat goes the paintbrush. Crikey, let's paint. It ain't it if you ain't paint it. Let's just paint. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Let me ask you another equally important philosophical question. What came first, the sky or the tree? The sky? I thought so too. Let me show you something that frustrates me beyond measure. Here I have two paintings, one by Samuel Earp and one by Chris Long. If we look at the Samuel Earp painting, you can see the sky. That's a bad color for that, red. You can see that the tree is very clearly defined against the sky. Not just the outline, but also these little splotches. Almost like the tree and the sky have been painted at the same time. Now look at Chris Long's tree. Let's follow this dark shade of green. That's one continuous color there underneath, and then on top of that, he has painted sky and highlights. Pink. This is good as well, look at that. He's used the sky there to define a branch, and there. So he uses the sky to cut into his tree shape and make it more tree shape. But clearly these are both trees. Obviously they're both trees. So I know the order in which I want to paint them. Sky, trees on top of sky, and then foreground and midground trees on top of the background trees. So working from lean to thick. Let's look at some other famous paintings of trees. Claude Monet. No, that's terrible spelling. Monet. Poplars, a Monet series. A shallow rowboat that had slots in the bottom capable of holding several canvases at once. Monet painted 24 pictures of bloody hell. Floating? No. Why? I'm eager to see his brushstroke on these now because there is no way you can paint well from a boat. Whoa. That's not from a rowboat. Why is he drawing a little top hat in the bottom right corner? Can't be a top hat though, can it? Claude Monet. top hat. Signature. That's Keanu Reeves wearing a top hat. Okay, it's probably not a top hat. Either way, I digress. Again, annoyingly. I'm most curious about the colors here. I don't know what I'm doing. If we look at the trees in front here, we look at the high tones, the light tones. God, I'm an idiot. Yellow. And then the dark tones. Blue. Look at these trees in the background. The darker tone is this. Put that next to this. Quite a lot lighter. And the highlights, very muted. They don't look that muted though. Wow. What can we learn from this? Don't paint from a boat. That's insane. I need a cooler signature. One that preferably has a top hat in it. Pretty cool. Thirdly, most importantly, colors, the further they get away from you, mute. As trees get further back, there is less contrast in them. The further back a tree is, the less yellow it has in it, so the colors appear more blue. This seems overly simplified, but that's what I need to learn. Moving on up to the midground. Let's see if I can find another famous tree. Oh, the mulberry tree, Van Gogh. Who doesn't love a bit of Vincent van
Gogh? And in England we've settled for Van Gogh. But he was Dutch, and I've spent hours with Dutch people trying to get this right. It's something like Van Gogh. But it's not that easy, so I'm happy to say Van Gogh. I'm Richard Stemp, and this is London Art Study.
What?
Call him Van Gogh. The Americans Van Gogh.
So I'm gonna go back to that's crazy.
If you know how to pronounce something. There are names we always get wrong, and the best example of that is Vincent van Gogh. How you pronounce his name depends on where you come from. The French, for example, call him Van Gogh. The Americans Van Gogh. And in England we settled for Van Gogh. But he was Dutch, and I've spent hours with Dutch people trying to get this right. It's something like Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
But it's not that easy, so I'm happy to say Van Gogh. I'm Richard Stemp.
If you're happy, Richard, I'm happy too. I'm going to stick to Vincent van Gogh. Anyway. This is, the mulberry tree. This is definitely a foreground tree, isn't it? I'm not ready for foreground trees yet. Gustav Klimt. Birch forest. Birch. No. No. Bird. Yes. Okay. Bird. Oh, beautiful. I love this painting. It's great. But I would argue from his style that he puts a lot of detail even into his background trees, which I wouldn't... That's the wrong color. Which I would have thought counterintuitive, because if you look at this tree, it's still got all of his notches on it, and you can look at the trees in the front. It's got just about as much detail as the backgrounds. And yet we read it as going into the background, so he's not reducing the color of it, really. In fact, the ones in front are darker toned. What we do instead, if we look, this is eye level where the horizon is. The bottom of the trees get higher up. And he creates a plane towards the horizon, which sets the trees further back. So things at your eye level stay the same height. That's why when you're drawing people in a big scene, everyone's head is kind of at the same height, but their feet get higher up the further they go back, so they're on the plane to infinity and beyond. And with trees, the canopy. Look at this. We have a tree in the background. And we have a tree in the midground. The bottom of the tree, which is at eye level, should be kind of the same height. The top of this tree here will disappear towards the horizon, and the bottom of the tree will disappear towards the horizon. But this bit at your eye level, where the shadows are, the shaded part of your tree, should be at similar heights. Interesting. Very interesting. Create depth with perception. John, Constable. The Haywayne. Regarded as a constable's most famous image. Or painting, rather. He didn't take this with a camera. We see the horizon line around there. The bottom of these trees are all the same spot. Which means you get this. Little glimpses of gaps. God, I'm learning so much. That's probably pretty obvious. Because we got the tree trunk touching down the ground, and we have these bursts of bright green from the field behind, either side of that, and that's broken up by that tree trunk going down. That's how I recognize it. And then the shadows beneath it. Okay, I think I'm... Whoa, what are you doing in there? I didn't even spot you. This guy's a little jockey. What's he doing in the bush? Have you seen my horse? You don't get the same bursts of green in the background trees though, because it's so dense. These midground ones, you can bring them forward by introducing that little bit of green. So if I was to do this, I was to add another tree here. So you get this burst of green on this side and this burst of green on the other side, and it reads like a tree. And it reads like a tree closer to you. Not quite right on top of you, but in the midground, which is what we're after. Okay, foreground, and back to Vincent van Gogh. Again, what can I learn from this one? He clearly redefines his tree after using the sky. You can see here the strokes he's using for the sky there, and then in at the same time. This might not be the best example for us. Let's have a look at someone else. Casper, the friendly ghost. David Friedrich. Ah, a spoopy tree. God, that is detailed. I don't want to go that detailed. Main takeaway, basic tree form, I guess. Tree branches get smaller the further they get away from the main trunk. Pretty obvious, I would say. And that's the same for all trees. All trees. Weirdest trees. Oh, look at that bad boy. The umbrella tree, look at that. And it is an umbrella tree. Aptly named. The branches get smaller the further away they get from the tree trunk. This one definitely does that. Teeny tiny branches. Oh, look at this. The ancient one? Ho 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 ho. That is a badass name. Known as Methuselah. But again, branches getting smaller. Alright, so form. because we're going to see more of it because it's in the foreground. So, obvious, but branches get smaller. I'm going to put dummy after that because that should be obvious. All right, I need to find some other example. The Lawrence Tree, Georgia O'Keeffe. Whoa. I love this painting. I didn't know Georgia O'Keeffe did paintings like this. My art knowledge is severely lacking, but not very helpful for us. Henry Rousseau. Ooh, there it is. The Dream. Well, that is... Those lions are not having a good time. Not helpful. Ivan Shishkin. Morning in a pine forest. Look at that. These guys are great. But again, it's the same thing. The trees in the front are more detailed than the ones in the back. They have a higher contrast. Foreground paintings. Higher contrast. The form is important. And then other than that...
Branches aren't easy, so let me show you what not to do first. You never want to pull straight out or up because your tree will look more like a telephone pole. Instead, you want to begin your brushstroke like you are painting along the trunk or branch and pull up and out. This will create a V shape.
A round tip brush. You can see that. Second, I don't know how it works. I can make a solid line with it, but as I lift off to getting towards the end of the branch, I'll get the finer tip, which will allow the branch to taper down. Not a bad revelation. Normally YouTube videos are quite silly, like this one. Okay, hopefully this turns out well. Cracking. Let's go, baby. Hey, let's go. Oh, yeah, let's paint. Yeah. All right. I have obviously just finished painting and trees. And while I was painting, I made some notes, which I thought was important. Get better at skies. That's obvious. And then soft blending. I was blending the sky in to the edge of the tree and making a softer edge. The colours, perhaps for this one, were too muted. And as a result, it pushed the trees too far back. I like it, but it's not particularly accurate. Right, the midground. The midground was the one that I was least happy with. The only additional note I made was, again, to play with the edge of the sky. Instead of blending it soft edge, it was a combination between a soft and a hard edge. So I was grabbing the colour of the tree and pulling it into the sky and creating harder edges to give the illusion that there were branches and, trees, leaves in the sky. And then the foreground was fun. The foreground's when everything sort of comes together, which is quite nice. I had highlights around openings. So, obviously, if you have light coming through a hole, the ring of that hole is going to be brighter. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Let me know if you thought this was fun or useful, or because this is my first real YouTube video. Oh, I meant to say, hit that bell notification or subscribe. but it makes me feel a little inside. So if you could, I would appreciate it. And also, let me know what you think I should practice next. Because I think clouds make a very strong argument. If you made it this far, thank you. I need to sign off. Get wrecked, Artner. No. Bye. Bye. Seriously, bye. I'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, bye.